Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Founders Day. Okay. Good morning. So you're welcome to the second Founders Day event for the Fashionomics Africa Incubator and Accelerator online program. Now we're streaming this session live on YouTube. So in case your internet is unstable, you might want to click on the YouTube link and have it handy. Okay, so the link is in the chat box. So please confirm that you can see the YouTube link in the chat box. So we're streaming live on YouTube. So just in case your internet goes off, so you have a backup, which is the YouTube link. Okay, so I see that everyone is here. So I'll just introduce myself. My name is Tobilola Ajibola, and I manage all things community here at the Creative Economy Practice from the Lagos office. And I'm going to be your moderator for today. So please use the chat box to introduce yourself. Tell me your name, tell me where you're dialing from and what you want to learn in this session. Okay, so use the chat box to introduce yourself. Tell me your name, tell me where you're dialing from, that's your location, and what you want to learn in this session. So I'm just going to read out some comments. That's if you've already put anything in the chat box. So don't forget your name, your location, and what you want to learn in this session. Okay. So I'm not seeing anybody writing anything in the chat box. So if you can use the chat box to tell me your name, your location, and whatever it is that you want to learn in this session, I will just read it out. So people are raising up their hands. Okay. Okay. So while we sort out the chat box, so let me just continue, and hopefully you can get to write your name and your location and what you want to learn in this session. Okay, so like I said, my name is Tobilola Ajibola, and I manage all things community here at the Creative Economy Practice from the Lagos office, and I'll be your moderator. Now, we're going to do a quick tour of this webinar room to show you some buttons you might not be familiar with, okay? So if you can look down on your phone, if it's a phone that you're using or your laptop, you'll see that we have a chat box. And if you're having issues sending a message there, don't worry, we're working on it. So I want you to use the chat box to engage with everyone here. So write out what you want to learn once you can, what you want to learn, your name, your location, and whatever it is that you want to say. So use the chat box to engage with us. Now, we also have the question and answer box. Now, if you can see the icon, just raise up your hand. If you can see the question and answer box, raise up your hand. Okay, so I can see some hands are raised. Now, the question and answer box is where you send all your questions to. Please do not send your questions to the chat box because we're not going to be manning the chat box because the chat box runs very fast and, we're not going to be manning it. So every question that you have, please send it to the question and answer icon. Okay, now another thing for you to note is that we have translations available in 4 languages. We have English, we have French, we have Portuguese, and we have Arabic. So request that you look for the circular interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and then select your preferred language so you can hear what we're saying. And then we also advise that you use the translation and not the captions, okay? Thank you. Okay, so let me just take that again. We're going to do a quick tour of the webinar room to show you some buttons that you might not be familiar with. So like I said we have the chat box, use it to engage with everyone here. We also have the question and answer box. So if you can see it, raise your hand and let me see. Okay, so I think that, oh, fantastic. So the chat box is working. Yes, so I'm just going to read out some comments, some of the things that you're saying. Okay. So I think the very first person is Hortensi Mbia. I'm so sorry. So Hortensi is saying that he's Cameroonian and he's based in Addis, and his brand is Afropian. It's a Pan-African lifestyle brand, 100% handmade in Africa. And he or she's looking forward to learning more about the next steps of the accelerator. I would like to know what the criteria will be to select those who would pitch and what kind of companies. Okay, so you get more information about that. So I'm just going to take one more. Let me see who's answered fully before I move on to continue. So there's someone who is, I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name, but this person is Magzi Millian from Kigali, Rwanda, and he or she would love to learn more about the business of fashion. Thank you so much for all of these comments that you have sent in. Thank you. So just let me continue because we have very little time and our facilitator is already here. So please keep your comments coming. Make sure you send all your questions to the question and answer box and do not send it to the chat box. Now, as you already know, this is the second Founders Day. Now, the essence of the Founders Day is to provide an opportunity for all participants in the Fashionomics Africa Incubator and Accelerator online program to come together to go through a recap of the workshops. Ask any burning questions you might have, network and connect with other entrepreneurs, and be updated on the latest program news. Okay, so we're going to start this event with our first facilitator. Now, after this, we will take questions and answers before we move on to the next session. And then we will take announcements and end this session. Now, please note, this is very important. We're going to be taking a poll during this session. So once it pops up, please just fill it out immediately. Now, it's super easy to fill out. We're just asking 3 questions. And once you click on the answer and submit, it goes off your screen. So we will tell you when we start taking the poll. It's just one poll. And we'd like for everyone to fill out the poll. Thank you as you comply. Okay. So we're going to start the very first session now, and I'm just going to run through some ground rules. Number 1, switch on your camera. Use the question and answer button to ask your questions. So you're muted already, and please don't unmute yourself. Thank you. What we discuss here stays here. That means that whatever we say is confidential. Actively, give space for others to participate. And then one very important ground rule is that your Zoom name must match your registration name. So my name is Tobilola, and if you can see my Zoom name, you can see it's also registered as Tobilola. So ensure that your name matches your Zoom name. That's because we're taking attendance. And if your name doesn't match, we're not going to be able to mark you present. Okay, so please, if you have generic names like Silver Fox, Techno, Y8, iPad, please change it because you might be marked absent if you don't change it to your registered name. Okay, so I am so excited. Let's welcome our facilitator for the first session. She's here already. Her name is Tolulokwe Ogunlokun. So let me just read her short bio. Tolulokwe is a qualified chartered accountant whose experience spans across several sectors, She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting. Tolulope specializes in financial reporting and taxation. She's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, that's ICANN. She's going to be taking us on a deep dive into taxation, pricing models in fashion, and financial management. We're excited to have you here, Tolulope, and we look forward to a great learning session. The floor is yours. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Toby. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Good morning, everyone. Like Toby said, my name is Tolu, and we'll be going over, just a moment. So we'll be going over, product pricing, taxes, financial management, as it were. So first of all, we'll be doing a recap. So we've been taught product pricing before taxes, and also a recap of that before I move into financial management. So for product pricing, I saw on the chat box, I read that a lot of us want to still have a good idea of how to price your product. I think the first thing to know is, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you need to cultivate an habit of record keeping. So when you start out and you start incurring costs for your business, you start buying stuff, materials, you start buying raw materials, paying vendors, paying laborers to carry out your business. You need to write those things down, because those expenses that you are making at the initial stage will go into how you are going to price your products. It will affect the price that you're going to set for your product. So because you find out that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially if you're a sole proprietor, that is, you're like a one-man business, you tend to make settle expenses, pay for stuff without recording it down, because most often than not, most entrepreneurs start out by using their personal bank account to make these expenses. You need to be able to separate your personal business from your business. Okay, so it's not good practice to make payments or engage vendors using your personal account. That way, you're not able to have a clear sight of what you have spent, in producing your goods. So I think my first talk to you this morning will be to start off by separating you getting a different bank account for your business. That way, it's easy for you to keep track of what you're spending towards your business. And in doing so because the basics for product pricing is to take into consideration all that you have spent in producing whatever product you want to sell, because whatever price you will put on your product will have to accommodate the cost of that product. Then a margin will be put on it to give way for profit. So if you don't know the cost of what you want to sell, how are you able to appropriately determine a price? So whichever model you want to use in determining a price for your product, you first have to be fully aware of the cost that has gone into producing that particular product. Okay, so I wrote here that a price is a sum of money a customer is willing to pay and for your product, and the pricing strategy is a model or method you want to use to establish that price. A price that maximize profit and business value while taking into account market demand. So when it comes to pricing any product, there are, three key strategies. We have cost-based or cost-plus pricing, which is basically, calculating your cost and adding a particular, you add markup, so you want to sell a dress, and you say you have already calculated that all that went into producing this dress is about 1,000 naira. That has taken care of the cost. So an additional 500 naira is okay for me as profit. So you say, okay, I want to sell it 1,500 naira. Okay, so but if you don't capture your cost properly, you would end up selling below what you should sell for. Because, for instance, if your cost is 1,000 and you only captured 900 naira and you put a markup, yes, your profit margin has reduced, because in actual fact, your expenses is more than 900 naira. It's actually 1,000 naira. So for the first strategy in determining your pricing is to calculate your cost and add a markup margin, 50%, 40%, 60%, depending on your goals for your business, the particular where you are heading to in terms of, okay, what you want your profit to be like. So you put that into consideration in adding the markup to your cost for the first strategy. For the second strategy, which is a market-based pricing, you set a price based on what the competition is charging. So for instance, you have a fashion house. Even though, yes, you are aware of your cost, which is like the basis for any model that you want to adopt, but instead of just adding a markup to it, you want to do a market survey and see what other fashion houses are charging for their products that is similar to what you are offering. Okay, so you take you go, when you do your research, maybe you take one or two fashion houses that's similar to you in terms of size, in terms of what you are offering, and you look at what they are charging for their product and use that to determine yours. You might want to put yours at par with what they are charging. You might want to put yours a bit above what they're charging, maybe because you determine that your products are of a higher quality, depending on what your research is like of the market. Or you might want to put your price a bit below, because you are starting out and you want to penetrate the market by coming out with a lower price than what is obtainable in the market. Those are different strategies that you might want to adopt, but the market price of your product would guide you in setting your price for this second strategy. So the third strategy is value-based pricing. This is based on your product or service price, on what the customer believes it's worth. So you are selling a particular clothing line, and you need to do your research in determining, okay, for this kind of wear or this kind of fashion line, what is the customer's perception about what I'm offering? What are they willing, what is the customer willing to pay for my line of business? That's a lot of research has to go into that, because it's value based. The customer will be paying the according to the value they are placing on your product. So you need to do a research regarding your fashion line or your line of business to determine what the market is, how the market is valuing your product. That will guide you in placing in determining a suitable price for your product. So you're not going with what the market is currently paying. You're not going with just a markup addition to your cost. You are actually going according to what the customer or what the market is perception about your product. So you see a Gucci bag. In the actual sense, a Gucci bag and a normal maybe like an Aldo bag might not be too different, but as a consumer, my perception about a Gucci bag is, oh, it's high-end, it's luxurious, and I'm willing to, pay much more than I would for an Aldo bag, because my perception about that product is it's highly valuable, and I'm willing, to pay more for, even though it's a bag, and yeah, I might get something like that cheaper, but because of the label and the kind of perception I have about that product, I'm willing to pay more for it. So you have to do your research in coming up with a price when you are adopting the value-based pricing. So value-based pricing actually gives you room to grow, because you are pricing according to what the customer is willing to pay, based on the value they are placing on your product. So these are the three basic strategies you can adopt when you want to set a price for your fashion line or product or service. But like I said, the first step will be to adequately have in your control your costs, your labor cost, raw material cost, and all those direct costs that go into the actual production of your product. Okay. Other indirect or other overhead don't really need to go into the actual pricing, cost pricing for your product, because when you talk about rents, when you talk about marketing, those don't directly affect the production cost of your product. So in determining your cost, you need to put into cognizance your labor costs, material costs, and any other costs that go into the direct production of your products. Okay, so I would move to the next. So for taxes, so yes, as a business owner, you have different taxes that are applicable to your business. So here I've highlighted. So for company income tax, you are liable to pay this after every financial year. That is if you are incorporated. Value, we have capital gain tax, you have value added tax, you have education tax. So all these are applicable if you are incorporated. That is, if your business is duly registered, you are expected to have make this payments. But if you are operating under a business name, you would only be liable to your VAT, not the company income tax. But for personal income tax, if you're a registered business name, you would be taxed as an individual. So and these are the taxes that are applicable for personal income tax of individuals. You have the first 300,000 at this rate, 500,000, and these are annual figures. So you would use this table to compute your personal income tax. So we also have, so for business owners, whether you're incorporated or not, withholding tax is key. You need to put into cognizance when you are making payments to vendors, and you need to put into cognizance your withholding taxes. You need to deduct these taxes and make remittances to the if you are withholding tax for a company, you're going to remit to the federal government. If you are withholding tax from individuals, you will have to remit to the state government. Okay, so let's move on. So yes, now we are financial accounting and management for businesses. Financial accounting is basically the process of recording, summarizing, and reporting a company's business transactions through financial statements. These statements are the income statement, balance sheet, and so as a business owner, as you are expanding your business, as you are moving on, you need to be able to make sense of your activities. And the best way of making sense of activities is to, at every period in time, generate statements that help you to see how the business is faring, how the business is doing. You want to be able to see what what revenue has come in, what cost have gone out, what is remaining business, how do we move from here. If you don't have this statement, you are not able to make decisions to grow your business. These statements, these reports will help you to make decisions, basically. So if you want to decide to increase price, if you have this kind of reports, you are able to make that decisions because you can see where your business is at. So basically, they are not to increase revenue, to increase your profit margin. You have various ways of doing that. So people generally think that for me to increase profit, I have to, increase my price, or I have to sell more. But if you sell more or you increase your price and you don't watch your cost, your profit margin will not change significantly. So in as much as you can also increase price or sell more, you should also watch your cost and see where you can cut back on unnecessary expenses that you are making in the business. But all this you can only decide on this when you are able to generate your reports and see exactly how the business is faring. So this in order to generate this statement, businesses need to develop a system of bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the process of recording your business financial transactions so that you know exactly how much you are making and where the money is going. Okay, so if you run your business in such a way that you are not keeping records, you are not you don't have a system where you are able to generate a report that shows you exactly how you're doing as a business, you cannot grow, because you cannot grow if you don't make informed decisions. And how can you make informed decisions if you don't have the necessary tool to guide you in making those decisions? So I cannot overemphasize the importance of bookkeeping as a business. You need to keep records. So you need to find a system that works for you. Okay, so depending on your size of business, you can start off with keeping an Excel sheet. As you grow, you can get an accounting software, to record your transactions as you go. Bookkeeping means writing down all the monies that come into your business and money that goes out. If you don't know how much you're making or where the money is going, you will have a hard time finding ways to expand your profitability. That's basically it. I said before initially that you need to separate your business from your personal funds. You need to treat your business like a separate individual, from yourself. That way, you are able to put your affairs in order and make decisions that will actually help your business to grow. So here I have said, why does a business keep financial records? To manage the money of the business, particularly there's a significant amount of cash flow on day-to-day basis, to track daily, weekly, monthly financial performance of the business. Is the business making money? To identify and address problems at an early age. So if your business is having financial issues, the quickest way to know is by reviewing your financial statements, your income statements, your books. And if you don't have records, how are you able to review these books? There's no way you can even know that you have a problem. There's no way you can see at a glance that your costs of sales is actually killing your business. So sometimes the cost that you are putting in to produce might be so high, and you need to look for a workaround how to, reduce such cost in order to increase your profit margin. So, but this information are only available to you if you have a system of record keeping. So, to provide the bookkeeper or accountant of the business with all critical financial information to make informed decisions. That's the very, very key. Pricing is a decision that you need to make. And you can't make that decision if you don't have a record keeping system. It's not possible. You would make a decision, but it won't be informed. Okay, you just make the decision on the fly, on the go, what you feel that it should be. It won't be informed. And if it's not informed, there's no clear, pathway, there's no clear strategy, or to grow your business, because you're just making decisions as they come, or as you feel like. Okay, and if you want, if you also want to attract investors, one of the things they will ask from you is your financial statement, your books. You don't need to, as you start out, you don't even need to, do anything sophisticated. But like I said, you can, start out by keeping Excel sheets. Have a tab that records your daily expenses, have a tab that records sales, have a tab that records cash sales, credit sales, because you sell on credit. If you don't have records of people that you have sold on credit, how are you able to, follow up and make sure those money comes in? Okay, so yes, so that's basically it. You need to have a system of record keeping. So the financial records, the the summary of your financial information bookkeeping, it goes into the general ledger. Your general ledger is organized into different accounts in which you record several different types of transactions. So every time you perform a financial transaction, for instance, make a sale, accept a client's invoice, or pay a bill, you should record that transaction in your general ledger. Recording a financial transaction in your general ledger is what is referred to as making a journal entry. The general ledger tracks 5 key accounting items: asset, liabilities, owner's capital, revenues, expenses. So if you're just starting out and you cannot afford an accounting system, you can start out, by using an Excel and having several tabs. So that Excel file would, serve as your general ledger. So you open different tabs for different expense head or different accounts. So a tab can have accounts receivables, accounts payables, general overhead. So you can name it as how you are, as how you want, that tallies with the kind of business that you are doing, so that at every time, if you want to generate a report from those tabs, from those records that you have kept, it's easy for you to come up with a report. So if someone says, okay, what's your revenue for the past 6 months, go to that you go to your sales, both your cash sales and credit sales is what you add together, and to come up with your total sales for the period. So yes, so that's what we call a general ledger. Different accounts together that would form your income or financial statements. So it tracks your assets, your asset, things that you bought, that you own, that you will use to generate services or product. Liabilities, things that you is your possession, but you have to pay back. Owner's capital, that is your equity into the business. Your revenue, sales, expenses, costs. So these are basically what make up the general ledger. Okay, so I see several hands up for questions. I think we'll take questions after the session. So okay, yeah. So I have highlighted here basic accounting terms. So for the first term, it's the bond rate. So what's the burn rate? A burn rate is a measure of how quickly a business is losing or burning through money. That is a particular, this is a particularly important metric for startups and venture-backed businesses. This calculation helps business owners understand how long they can continue to operate at this rate before running out of money. So you start your business with a particular sum, and at the end of a particular period, there's some money left with you, and you need to make a decision. Okay, how am I able to survive for the foreseeable future without getting additional funds? So maybe you started your business, so this is the formula for determining your burn rate. So you started your business with 1.2 million, and maybe at the end of 3 months, you see that you have 900,000 left with you, and you want to see, okay, how long would I survive with this remaining money with me before I get additional funds? So your burn rate is 100,000 per month, because the formula says your starting balance, which is 1.2, at the end of 3 months, you have 900,000 divided by 3. So every month, you on average, you spend 100,000 per month. So if you have 900,000 left with you, judging by your previous records, you would be spending 100,000 every month. That's your burn rate. So your business basically extends 100,000 per month. So this particular metric helps you to determine, oh, okay, this is what I have left. I'm spending this per month. I need to get additional funds ASAP. So, but in a situation where you cannot even determine what is left, what you started with, how much you spend per month on an average, how are you able to determine when to seek out for additional funds to engage in fundraising for your business? So you don't want to just wake up one morning and see you don't have funds anymore. You can plan. By determining your burn rate, you are able to plan and say, okay, if I'm spending 100,000 per month, I need to make sure at any particular time, I have this left with me, so that at no particular time are you in a fix, to settle any obligation regarding your business. As you begin to spend money, you will start to see your cash balances deplete. As a business, you want to be strategic about what you spend money on and when you might seek more fundraising. Okay, so like I said, determining your burn rate helps you to determine how much on an average as a business that you spend on a month by month basis, and to be able to say, okay, this is what I have left, and then this will take me to whatever month, and how to plan beyond that point to getting more funds for the business. So subsequently, you burn rate, cash runway. So your burn rate is what you averagely spend every month. Your cash runway refers to the amount of time a business must remain solvent, assuming they are unable to raise any additional funds. So you're spending 100,000 every month, and you're not able to. You don't have an idea where the next additional funds is going to come from. So you have 900 left at a burn rate of 100,000 per month. So you have 9 months left, to remain solvent. So let's say, as a business, all avenues to get additional funds has not proved fruitful. You can see that you have 9 months to remain afloat, and you can begin to make plans, to either cut down on some things, or find more innovative ways of raising cash for your business. So if a startup has 900,000 in cash remaining and has a burn rate of 100,000 per month, we've got 9 months of runway, or 9 months until you run out of cash. So you can easily determine when you are going to run out of cash based on your burn rate, based on your cash runway period. So these two metrics help you to determine when you would have to, in quote, close shop on when you have to, like go out and really look for additional funds, or at that point begin to take strategic steps to make sure that you stay afloat beyond the projected cash runway period. So most entrepreneurs and experts recommend having at least 12 months of runway at all times. So at all times, as a business owner, you are expected to have at least 12 months of runway. That is, at every point in time, you should have money that would take you for a year. So when auditors, even when you are grown and established, and auditors audit you and they see that your business is not able to survive for the next 12 months, they raise an alarm. Your report is qualified. So for any healthy business, at every point in time, you should be able to survive for 12 months. And the only way to make sure that that is constantly happening is at every point in time, you determine your burn rate, determine your cash runway period, and immediately take steps to adjust metric to fit into the period of 12 months. So here, this person says, I have 9 months to survive. What can I do now to make sure that this 9 months extends to 12 months and beyond? What steps do I need to take to ensure that this 9 months, extend beyond 9 months? Do I need to adjust my cost? Do I need to get in more sales? Do I need to take out a loan? What do I need to do? So it helps you take strategic decisions to take you beyond this point at every point in time. Okay. So that means that a good burn rate is around 1/12 of your available cash. So if you have 600,000 in available cash, a burn rate close to 50,000 will be good. Okay, so you can't have available cash 600K and your burn rate is 100,000. It's not healthy for your business. So this metric helps you to adjust accordingly, to give your business more time. Okay, so another point to note or to talk about, it's your profit margin. This is a very important term in your business, because at every point in time you want to be able to say you are making a healthy profit on whatever you are selling, whether service or product. So your profit margin gauges the degree to which a business or a company or business activity makes money. Profit margin is the measure of your business profitability. It is expressed as a percentage and measures how much of every naira in sales or services that your company keeps from its earnings. Profit margin represents the company's net income when it's divided by the net sales or revenue. Net income or net profits is determined by subtracting the company's expenses from its total revenue. Okay, so your profit margin can be your gross profit margin or your net profit margin. Your gross profit is profit after your cost of sales. Your cost of sales is basically what goes into producing your sales. So whatever cost that is direct, we have talked about this in the beginning, whatever cost that is directly involved in producing your product is what you call your cost of sales. So your gross profit margin is your gross profit over your sales. That is how you get. So your gross profit margin also helps you to effectively gauge if your cost of sales is high or not. Okay, so and your net profit margin is your gross profit minus other general overheads, marketing costs, rent, internet, telephone costs, staff costs. Those are other costs that now the net profit margin is when you have accounted for every other cost apart from cost of your goods, cost of sales. So for example, suppose your business makes 10,000 naira in revenue and it costs 2,000 to make your product. Revenue minus the cost of goods sold will be 10,000 minus 2,000, that's 8,000. So your gross profit is 8,000 naira. Okay, so to determine your gross profit margin will be your gross profit divided by your sales, which is 8,000 divided by 10,000, which is 80%. So your gross profit margin is 80%. Okay, so that is your cost in relation to your sales is about 20%. So you have made a profit margin of 80%, which is not bad. Okay, but that's just the first level. You still also have to account for other general overhead. So from your 80% left, you also have to now deduct general expenses before you now arrive at your net profit, and then you can determine your net profit margin. So a good margin will vary between industry to industry, but as a general rule of thumb, a 10% net profit margin is considered average. So from this 80% now, if you deduct all your other general overhead, labor, staff costs, marketing, telephone, rent, transportation, travels, every other expenses, and you get like a 10% profit margin, is considered average. A 20% net profit margin is considered good, while anything low, for the business. A good gross profit margin ratio, 50 to 70%, is considered healthy. So, you have your gross profit margin, which speaks to your costs of goods in determining if, what you are selling is even worth it. Because if you have a gross profit margin of 20%, is either you should either change your line of business or, scale up, re-strategize, because because you have not even put into consideration your other general overheads, and your gross profit margin is already giving you 20%. So how do you account for all the other costs that has to go into that? Okay, so your gross profit margin helps you to determine if your product is properly priced, if your cost of production is high, and you need to do something about it. So those the gross profit margin helps you to have a good sense of how your product is faring. Then your net profit margin helps you to determine as a business if you are, if your general expenses is too high, you need to cut down on staff, you need to reduce travels, you need to do one or two things to accommodate, because you need to have in front of you the bottom line. And if your bottom line is nearing 10%, you need to be able to re-strategize. But these decisions can only be made if you have this kind of information in front of you. That's how you are able to make those decisions. So for example, I have an example of an income statement. So I don't know if from this statement anyone is able to calculate their gross profit margin and their net profit margin. So this is an example of an income statement where you have your sales revenue, your cost of goods, your gross profit. Then from your gross profit, you also have other general overhead, rent, salaries, telephone, marketing expenses. You have your earnings before tax. So for that period, we're not paying any income tax. Then you have your net profit. So let's see if anyone is able to calculate their gross profit margin and their net profit margin. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tolu, for this wonderful presentation. So I can see some people already in the chat box are calculating what it is that you said they should calculate. Someone said 67% for, I think was what. But thank you so much for Hello, thank you so much, Tolu, for that wonderful presentation. Okay, so if you can, we're just going to run through the question for 8 minutes. We have very little time. The first question I would like to answer is, so Tolu, did anybody get the question right? The gross profit margin and the net profit margin. So can you say who got it right?
I'm trying to look through. I think everybody did got it. I think it was pretty straightforward.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask one question. So this question is from one Rape Lana, and he or she is asking, would value-based pricing work for art, jewelry, and accessories? Would value-based pricing work for art, jewelry, and accessories?
Yes, of course, it would. So it's for you to do appropriate research and determine the value that the market is placing on your type of products and play to that. Okay, so you are your art work, your jewelry can be a luxurious brand, and people are willing to pay much more than that they would. So you need to create a niche for yourself, in determining, making your brand much more than the what is obtainable in the market. You create a niche for yourself. Branding is all about branding, so that people actually want to be a part of what you do. They want to buy into what you are selling, and so it's a lot of research. We have several research that goes into determining prices for value-based pricing. Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tolu. Okay, so before we move to the next question, because we have very little time. So like I mentioned earlier, I said that we're going to start a poll, and I'm going to initiate it now. So please, immediately you see the poll, please just fill the poll. Okay, there are 197 people here. So please, immediately you see the poll, ensure that you fill. Okay, thank you. So let's just move to the second question. So Tuto is asking, I currently don't have a bookkeeping or record keeping system, and I want to start. How do I go about looking? That has been years of operation. So he doesn't have anything right now, and he's saying that his business has already started operation. So how does it start? How does it start? How does he go about it?
So if he can afford to get an accounting software, and because you said his business has been in operations for several years, right? So it would be best to get an accounting software. They have some basic ones that are not too exorbitant. So we have QuickBooks, we have Sage One, So those accounting software you are able to use. They are very customer user friendly. But the initial stage, you might need to, because you have been in operation for several years, to make sense of your records, you might need to engage an accountant to help you, impute all your data into the accounting software. And once that is done, you are able to follow through, on a month-by-month basis.
Okay, thank you so much, Tolu. So just one more question. So Rose Valerie is asking, she actually sent the message in French, but this is the translation. So can a growing and satisfactory turnover compensate for poor estimates of the price? So she's saying, I mean, even if after analysis, the costs are low, but I sell a lot, can this help to support the expenses and make the company profitable, even if the profit margin is low?
So even if you sell a lot and your profit margin is low, you would selling. So revenue does not translate to profit. You are in business because you want to make profit. So even if you are selling a lot and you are selling at a loss, you would sooner or later run out of business. So your strategy can be, even though you want to sell a lot, but you still also need to price it reasonably, so that those your sales can translate to an healthy profit margin for you. because selling a lot does not translate to profits. And if you are not making profits, you are not going to stay in business for long. So pricing is very key. Yes, you can. So in determining your price, your strategy can be, instead of selling at 5 naira, I want to sell at 4 naira and sell a lot, because when you sell a lot, you still make up for that profit margin. But you can't say because you're selling a lot and price it at 2 naira or 1 naira. Even if you're selling, you're just going through the motions. You're actually not making an impact on your business. So pricing is key for whatever strategy that you want to adopt.
Fantastic. So thank you so much, Tolu Lokwe, for this fantastic presentation. Now, guys, that's all the questions we can take because we have very little time. So if we haven't been able to address any of your questions, please ensure that you send them to the Fashionomic Help Desk email. So it's in the chat. So you see the email, the full email, but it's fashionomicshelpdesk@cchub.com. So thank you so much, Tolu. We've come to the end of our very first session. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed Tolu's session, please say thank you very much, Tolu, in the chat box as she makes her leave. Okay, so thank you, Tolu. Please stop sharing your screen. Thank you.
Okay, just a moment.
Okay, so everyone is saying thank you so much, Tolu. Thank you very much. Okay, so before we move into the second and the last session, we have 2 minutes, and we're going to use that 2 minutes to fill the poll. Our second facilitator is here, and he's waiting, he's ready. Now, if you haven't filled the poll, please, now is the time to fill it, okay? So the poll is still up and running. So if you have filled it, I don't think you should see it anymore. But if you haven't filled it, it means it's not due you to fill it. So please fill it. Just 3 questions, and they are all interpreted in Arabic, Portuguese, and French. Okay. Yeah. So please fill the polls. And if you have any problems filling the polls, please indicate in the chat section. Okay, so we're going to be moving on to our second and final session, and our facilitator is here. Okay, so his name is Mr. Ifeanyi Enukoro, and I'm just going to read his bio. So Ifeanyi Enukoro is a British Council certified master trainer and a Nesta associate for the Creative Enterprise Program. He's been presenting and facilitating customized interactive workshops since 2005 to audiences in Nigeria, Ghana, the UK, South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Sierra Leone, and Sudan. As a growth expert, he helps schools, school leaders, teachers, corporate organizations, entrepreneurs, and individuals reach their highest potential. His clients include some of the largest corporations, the British Council, the United Kingdom Trade and Investments, Virgin Atlantic Airways, Sterling Bank, and Lagos Ministry of Education, to name a few. He's going to be taking us on a deep dive into brand storytelling. We're excited to have you here today, Ifeanyi, and we look forward to a great learning session. The floor is yours. Welcome. So we can't hear you. Can you?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, but it's very faint. So.
Can you hear now?
So please indicate that you can hear clearly in the chat section so that we can know if.
Is it clear?
Yes, it's still faint. Would you rather use your laptop audio? Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
All right. Okay. So
okay, so can you share your screen?
Yes, I'll share my screen. I
Thank
still
you.
have the poll. Your poll is still okay.
Okay, so I'll just end the poll. Thank you very much for filling the poll. So it's going to end now.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, well, it's good afternoon here in Nigeria. Good morning somewhere else, I'm sure. So, wherever you're joining us from, thank you so much for having me. Just to say thank you to the last speaker. That was fantastic, fantastic breakdown of financial management issues and all that. Usually, it can be very, very tiring if you don't understand it, but she did so well with it. So thank you to Olokpe. That was fantastic. The way you broke it down. I wish I joined earlier so that I can pick one or two lessons from what you shared. We're going to be looking at a whole lot. So this is the lighter part. You know, we had the very serious part. So this is the lighter part. But just to be sure that everybody's following along, please, can you go to the chat and just type, I am super excited to be here today. Just type quickly. Say, I am super excited to be here. Just go to the chat, right? I'm super, fantastic, 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 fantastic. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I am also very, very excited to be here as well. I can see it coming in. Super excited, fantastic. Uzri, Jamaluddin, Isato, Koronko, fantastic. Great. So let's just go on very quickly because of time. So what we'll be covering today will be just three elements, telling your brand story, and why it is important that you're able to tell your brand story and then structure it in such a way that people will actually buy into that story. And then understanding your market, which I think is very critical, and then how you can then do customer acquisition, some of the strategies. Now, we can't cover all of these things in detail just within 1 hour. What I'll try to do is try to give you the basics and then challenge you to go back and then do more research as business people. It's also very important to state that if you understand the financials of your business, then you're almost 80% on your path to success. But if you don't know how to tell your own brand story, then it becomes a challenge for any other person to buy into it. So you must own your story in such a way that it is convincing. Tell it in such a way that everybody who you come across, your potential customers, are willing to buy into that story as well. Just to be sure that everybody is hearing me. Can someone confirm that you're still hearing me so that I'm sure I'm not speaking to myself? Toby, can you see me?
Yes, I can, and I can see.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so we've done the welcome. I'm not sure I need to look at. So my name is Ifeanyi Enukora, and then I have been doing this sort of presentations for some years, and I love to work with the creatives, and I've done this for over 7 years now, and this is Fashionomics program, and I'm sure that you would pick 1 or 2 lessons for whatever it is that we're going to discuss. Now, on the other hand, some ground rules, which I'm sure you're used to. Switch on camera if you can, but there's no need. Use the chat box to ask questions, raise your hand, and all of those ground rules that you're used to. Right, so let's get into it. So telling your brand story, A hand is raised. Can I take questions now, or what do we need? I don't know how this works to be.
No, so after your session, we're going to have a 20 minutes question and answer. So that's when you can take questions. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So please take note that you need to be able to tell your own brand story. What is the story behind your brand? What is the why? Why are you in business? Why are you interested in setting up that particular business? All right. If you can't articulate that story clearly, then it becomes a challenge to sell. It is always very easy to sell when you can articulate your story, and then you find that there are people who can align to your story, people who can buy into that story, people who that story resonates with in a very strong way. And that's why you see that so many brands find ways to tell their stories in different ways. So there's something universal about storytelling. When we're growing up as kids, one of the ways that our parents would engage us, now you have all manner of things. There are cartoons, people have laptops, young kids have laptops, they have phones, they can engage online and all. We didn't have all of that growing up. So one of the ways that our parents, used to engage us was to have story time. You know, and I remember so clearly when my mom, my late mom, she comes to rest in peace, we just, you know, gather us around, whether she was telling the truth or not. Just as adults, we're now discovering that some of the things our parents told us may have been fiction. Maybe not like we have been fiction, but we believed the story so much that we were looking forward to story time. We're looking forward to story time. In Nigeria, growing up, 80s and the 90s, we had a TV program called was about storytelling and Tales by Moonlight. I think that's what it was called. And you will find that the presenter will sit around with children, tell them stories, fables, the tortoise, elephant, the rabbit, all of those stories. There's something about storytelling. There's something about storytelling. The most effective communicators anywhere, are communicators who are able to conjure up some sort of stories that people can, you know, align themselves so that people can, that resonates with people. Once you're a good storyteller, people will then want to tend to listen to you. And you find that in almost every form of religion, whatever it is, the biggest strength that all the religions of the world have is storytelling. And that's why it has transcended over the years up until now. Some of us have never witnessed anything, we didn't know anything, but the stories that we're told are so captivating that we believe them. And we believe them to the point that we accept that they are real and all of that's the power of storytelling. Now, in the eyes of the consumer, the brand story is the narrative, and its narrative are as important as the products themselves. What is the story behind this brand? Why did, okay, so you have 50 companies producing perfumes, but each of those perfumes have their own story. There's a story behind them. So say, for instance, Rihanna produces perfume, Jay-Z does the same thing, someone here in Africa does the same thing. There's always a story behind that brand. And then once you can figure out how to tell your brand story well, you will definitely increase the revenue boosting potential of your content marketing strategy. So we're going to talk about content marketing strategy at some point, but not in detail. If you understand the story behind your brand, then it is easy for you to create content around that story. If it has made sense so far, please just type yes in the chat if it has made sense so far. Please type yes. Please type yes. Great. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you. So let's go on. Now, you can increase the value of your business, product, or service by over 20 times through the right brand narrative. I'm going to show you an example so that I know some of you are wondering, so how do I tell the story? How do I craft that? How do I capture it and all that? Look, if you're investing money in your business, I would advise that you also invest money in learning how to tell your brands. There are so many courses. If you go to Domestika, there's a, you know, like, what you call that? So there's this learning platform called Domestika. If you go on there, you will find a lot of courses that are very cheap, you know, that you can buy. How to tell your brand story. You need to be able to, so if you understand the financials, you understand how to acquire your customers, you also need to be able to tell your own story. Why? What is the why for your business? I mean, you don't start business like some people because they are tired of saying yes, yes, ma, and yes, sir to someone. They are tired of waking up early in the morning. If you live like I live in Lagos, and if you work like 9 to 5, you have to wake up early and close. Let that not be the reason why you're setting up your business. Some people, I just want to make money, I want to be rich. Fantastic. But what is the real reason why you're setting up your fashion business? All right. So let's talk about the importance of brand stories and then what defines them. Now, when brand storytelling is done well, it sets out clearly what your brand is all about, the mission, the values, and the purpose. Now, if you've done a lot of the courses that CC Hub has organized over time, for those of you who have interacted with, you will understand the importance of making sure that your values are clearly stated. Your mission statement is also clearly stated, and then the purpose for why you're setting up your business. So if you tell your story, but set out clearly what your brand is all about, and that covers your mission, your values, and your purpose. Now, the consumer or the potential customer gets more than just a product or service and an experience that transcends a boring reality. What that means is this: when you tell your brand story so effectively, people are not just buying the product, they are buying into that story. That story resonates with them. There's a reason why they're trying, to patronize you, not just because your product is fantastic, well designed, you created it in a fantastic way, but because you're telling the story in the right way. And the other thing about doing the brand storytelling well is that it inspires the reader or viewer to step into the experience of what you're trying to achieve. So let's look at Warby Parker eyewear example. Just take a few minutes if you can see my screen, and I'm going to show you some examples from this guy, the example from these guys. And I love it so well. It's so captured in a way that, for me, I wear glasses, so their story resonates with me. So let's look at positioning for Warby Parker eyewear, positioning themselves as the alternative to high-priced, oligopolized eyewear industry. Now, the eyewear industry used to be very oligopolized. It's not monopoly, it's not. So there's just a few people who controlled that market space, just a few people. And the prices were so high. So Warby Parker doesn't just sell quality glass frames and sunglasses. It invites its customers to become a part of the brand's movement. All right? Let that digest. So they don't just invite you to, they don't just ask you to buy frames. They don't just sell quality glass frames and sunglasses. They do it in such a way that the customers feel that they can become a part of that brand movement, all right? And that's exactly how you should be able to capture your story, all right? So why did you set up, what is your why? Why did you set up that business? Is it because I've seen Toby Lola, set up her own business, so I'm also going to do the same thing? Or is it because I've seen Naomi set up a very successful fashion business, so I'm going to also do the same thing? Or is it because I've seen Amola Baker do the same thing? So don't just get into that frenzy of setting up a fashion business because everybody is doing it. There needs to be a real story behind it, a real story behind it, a real story behind it. Now, people ask me, I tell people a lot of times that my biggest desire is to get back into the university system, and become a lecturer. And then I say, yes, because growing up, I've had teachers who were so amazing, and just a few of them, and teachers who were so terrible that being in the class was a torment. It was a torture. But I've had teachers who made class an inspirational experience and all of that. And I want to go back and give the same experience to my own students. So that's my story. That's why I teach. That's why I was a classroom teacher for some years at the secondary school, and then delved into facilitation of workshops and training of people. And I've done this over the years. That is what drives me. That is what inspires me. That's my story, to ensure that every time people come around me, they get value from the classes that they attend. All right. So Warby Parker example clearly states that they don't just sell quality glass frames and sunglasses. They invite the customers to become a part of the brand's movement. So let's look at the example now. So everybody take a few minutes, please. Okay, take a few minutes, and I hope I've not muted myself. Toby Lovett, can you still hear me? Hello, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm so sorry I keep asking the question. So everyone, please take a few minutes and then read the Warby Parker story. Dum 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 dum. All right, so what I'm going to try and do is to read it so that you will hear someone else read it, and then I want them to sink in. And I would challenge everyone here, if it's possible, and I'm not saying you're going to get it right, I'm going to ask you to try and, give it a go, give it a try, see if you can craft something around why you set up your business, and then we'll have that in the chat. But let me read this. So Warby Parker was founded with a rebellious spirit. And remember why this is rebellious. They were tired of the oligopolized nature of the sunglasses market, just a few people controlling the market. So with a rebellious spirit and a lofty objective, which is to offer designer eyewear at a revolutionary price while leading the way for socially conscious businesses. That, ladies and gentlemen, is their story. But let me give you the explanation, which is what you have below that. So every idea starts with a problem. Ours was simple. Glasses are too expensive. We were students when one of us lost his glasses on a backpacking trip. The cost of replacing them was so high that he spent the first semester of grad school without them, squinting and complaining. We don't recommend this. But the rest of us had similar experiences, and we were amazed at how hard it was to find a pair of great frames that didn't leave our wallets bare. Where were the options? Amazing. So this is their story. This is why they set up Wabi Paka, and that is why they are thriving. I will challenge you to go and do some research on them. They're doing excellently well. So every brand needs to have a story. Why did you set up? What is that compelling reason? Now, there are people like them who are tired of the very expensive glasses who will buy into their own market because they are addressing their needs, they are meeting their needs, and then their own story resonates with them clearly. If this makes sense to you, please can you go to the chat and say it makes a lot of sense quickly? Great. It does. Makes a lot of sense. It does make sense. So that's what you need to be able to do. You need to sit down. You need to sit down and ask yourself, why have I set up this business? Why have I set it up? What is the reason for setting up this business? So let me challenge you as you write in the chat. And if those of you who are online, joining us online and all of that, Facebook Live and all of those places, can I ask those of you here in the chat to quickly think about your own story? And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just see if you can craft something and write it in the chat, and then we can. Oh, 12 more minutes left. Woo! Oh, wow. Okay, so let me rush through so that I can take questions. Okay. Let me rush so that I can take questions. So now we're done with the story. How do you understand? You need to understand. So to tell your story well, you also need to understand your market where you're operating. So you may be 5,000 fashion businesses, but you're not all addressing the same market needs. Not everybody that you're meeting their needs. Now, Wabi Paka, no matter how revolutionary their business is everybody that they will appeal to. There are some people who want to buy very expensive sunglasses and wear the sunglasses. So you need to understand your market. Now, to understand your market, you need to understand the market you serve, and it's vital to running a successful fashion business. In other words, you should analyze your competition, your growth potential, and your customer base. Don't just get into business. Who is your competition, or who are your competitors? Is there a market for you? What it means is that do you have potential customers? Because if you don't have potential customers, what you're doing is no longer a business, it's a hobby. So you must know when to transit from a hobby to a full-time business. So that idea must be checked. And again, you also have to be able to do research. And there are 3 steps to doing all of this. Know your audience, understand your competitors, and identify your value. So let's look at knowing your audience. So while you may recognize the quality of the products or services that you offer, it's important to make sure the product is also of value to the audience that you are targeting. You also need to be able to ask yourself, will my products or services appeal to them? How much will they be able to and willing to pay for my product? So then you need to understand your competition. You're not doing business in isolation. You have competitors. MTN has, in South Africa, for instance, there's MTN, there's Vodacom. In Nigeria, there's MTN, there's Airtel. In Ghana, there's MTN, I think there's Vodacom as well, and in some of the other countries as well. So, but you must understand your competition so that you can thrive effectively. So get familiar with other vendors who sell sort of the things that you sell, or companies offering similar products to yours. Try out their products. So sometimes what I do is that I attend, I run a training, I run a HR firm. So what I do is that I try and visit some other HR companies, these guys as a client, even sometimes pay some money just to find out how they run their business so that I can do mine better. And then how are their products and approach is something different from yours? If you're a customer, whose product would you buy and why? So if you compare your product to your competitor, then ask yourself, if I am the customer, whose product will I buy and why will I buy that product? Considering these elements can help you improve your products and communications as well. Your value proposition is just a statement about your product or service and how it helps fulfill your customer needs. Yeah, is an answer to a simple question: why should I buy from you and not your competitor? You're answering that question: why should I buy from you and not your competitor? Why should I buy from Lamake and not Naomi? That's the question. So it should be simple for a person to understand, it should be unique, and it should be measurable as well. So Stitch Fix, since this is a Fashionomics program, so Stitch Fix is a fashion company, and then this is their own value proposition, all right? So it's personal styling for everybody. A great wardrobe starts with your perfect fit. Our stylists discover clothing for you, hand-selected for your unique size and style. This is their value proposition, but let me break it down for you in the next slide. So it says, personal styling for everybody. A great wardrobe starts with your perfect fit. Our stylists discover clothing for you, hand-selected for your unique size and style. So what they sell, personal wardrobe styling services. How is that helpful? The stylist will help busy people out there finding clothing fitting their style and ship it directly to them. They don't need to bother. Their own stylist will go about looking for this clothing that fits and then ship it to them. How does it stand out from the competitors? They offer quick, customizable, unique clothing sent to a person by stylists. Is the proposition complicated simplistically? Yes, their messaging pronounces that they not only offer personal styling, but they offer it to individuals of all different shapes and style preferences, casting a wide net for who their target audience is. That's how you write your value proposition. I'm sure they're going to share the slides with you so that you can look it up and then read more about it. So finally, customer acquisition strategy. Very simple. So the first thing is content marketing. A lot of you do it already. A lot of you have outsourced that to some people, social media content marketers, but you need to be able to learn how to create content yourself because you're not telling the story. You don't have to do it every time yourself, but you can always get people who understand your story, the story behind your business, to help you craft your content or your content marketing strategy and all of that. So content marketing is a market strategy used to attract, engage, and retain an audience by creating and sharing relevant articles, can be videos, can be podcasts, and it can be other media. And I always advise that if you're a fashion designer, you need to be able to do this very effectively because the creativity that goes into fashion designing can also be tailored into creating your marketing content, all right? But remember, this content will always have to be about the story behind your brand so that you don't copy A and you don't copy C. You are just unique because your story is unique, all right? Now, this approach establishes expertise, promotes brand awareness, and keeps your business top of mind when it's time to buy what you sell. Also leverage social media, attend and actively participate in fashion exhibitions, and implement successful influencer collaborations as well. So have I done well with the 12 minutes, Toby? And then I can take questions.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for this fantastic presentation. Okay, so can you hear me? I just want to confirm that everyone can hear me.
Okay, so I'm seeing some people right here. Great, fantastic.
Okay, can you all hear me? Can you confirm that you can hear me? You can hear. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for this fantastic presentation. It was great learning with you. So we're going to take 5 questions, and I think we can take more because we're rounding up quite early. So I'm just going to go into the question and answer, and we have only 1 question. Okay, so if you have questions for Ifeanyi on brand storytelling, I'm sure you have a lot of questions. Please send your questions in so that he can.
Yeah, Toby, can I look, because I've seen some people write their stories in the chat. If they want to do that, why don't we even try and see if people can write their brand stories if they want, and then I give feedback. And then we take the questions as well. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you so much. So Aisha Yakubu, several years ago, I partnered with the Nigerian movie star to set up a brand that will mass produce affordable garments using made in Nigerian factories. We tried using factories that can be we look for factories that could help us produce high quality quickly at affordable price. Our factories seem to be making shirts, uniforms, and t-shirts. We couldn't find a factory locally that could mass produce fashionable garments. We resorted to China. We couldn't get visas, and not long after came the Chinese of importing and getting foreign exchange. I had to look inwards. I realized I was a pretty good textbook teller with great. I went on the internet and carried out lots of product development, mass production, and this year during the launch, we got our first customer. Yeah, Aisha, this is amazing. It's a fantastic story. You've set out all the challenges that you had, right from trying to partner with the Nigerian movie star and finding garment factories that can manufacture some of the things that you wanted, but who were not doing it, and then you had to get into China, even though visa was a challenge. So I would say that this story is super, but if you can summarize it in such a way that it looks as simple as the Wapi Packer story, so that people can, there are fashion designers who read this story and then it will resonate with them. There are people who want to buy garments, that will. So this can be your story, but try and see if you can summarize it in such a way that is quick to read, and easy to digest. So well done, Aisha. Let's see. There's some in French. No French for me. Okay. So that's that one. Is there any other? Okay. So there's a Mary Jane. Okay, Mary Jane. So Mary Jane says in 2010, the CEO of Exquisites, Creations and Exquisites, Couture and Accessories envisioned an event that will celebrate women, royalty, beauty, culture, and style. The company has started an aggressive business plan, including market research, trademark, and all of that, emphasizing culture, connecting people and brands through fashion in an increasingly competitive world. The event affords each participant the opportunity to grow and advance his or her personal career goals while acting as a role model in her community and allowing them appreciate what they do as tools for community, national, international development vision to be recognized as a premier event nationally and internationally. Mary Jane, if this is your story, this is fantastic. But again, like I said to the first person, you need to be able to write it in a summarized way, but still very powerful, that it can resonate with people as well. So you set out to create an event that people, women, and royalty, and all of those things can be showcased, and you've gotten traction, and then you've moved forward with it. But you try and summarize this, this story.
So please,
Yes,
can
go
you
ahead.
speak quite gently, like not too fast, because we have interpreters interpreting in Arabic, French, and Portuguese. Yes.
You know the problem I have is once I've started. I'm so sorry. I
Yes,
apologize.
I understand.
I apologize. That was an oversight on my part. I really apologize. Please, guys, forgive me. Okay. So I was saying to Mary Jane that she needs to restructure that story so that it can resonate very clearly with her audience.
So we have a couple of questions.
Okay.
The first one is from, I'll just read them from the question and answer. So Rose Valerie has asked in French, and I've translated, and she's asking for content ideas. So she wants to know, can you share content ideas that she can use for probably her social media to tell the right brand story? Okay, so there are so many content ideas, but the basic ones, like I mentioned, can be videos. So you see people create videos, could be skits, could be anything. It could be you explaining a concept, but in a fun way. It could be animation, get people to do animated stories, whiteboard animation, or the 2D animations or 3D animation, but something that people can relate with. It can be a podcast where you, in French, for instance, you're explaining, you're talking about fashion, you're talking about designs, you're talking about maybe clothing materials for a particular kind of weather. You're educating people with your podcast. You're not selling, but you're educating.
And then it is your brand that is doing that. So that people then begin. The idea of content marketing is so that you're putting your brand in the faces of people, and then it becomes top of mind, when they think about maybe clothing or buying a particular accessory and all of that. You can also write articles. In fact, the truth of the matter is this: you don't even need to write the articles yourself. There are so many artificial intelligence article producing websites that can do that for you. And sometimes you pay some token to get it. So you pay the money, get the article, and then you then have some other websites or apps that can actually rewrite the whole content so that it becomes yours, and then you're not accused of plagiarism and all of that. So you can, so many things that you can do. You can get a graphic designer, or you do it yourself, go on Canva. It can be quotes about fashion or about accessories. It can be quotes about weekends, about holidays. It can be anything, all right? So what you must then, and I think the first time you had this event, the first speaker talked about having a content calendar. So you also need to be able to have a content calendar that specifies what you're doing every day of the week and how many times of the year, of the month, that you need to produce content. That way you're guided, you have a plan, it's structured, rather than just doing it randomly. So there are several things that you can create. The other thing I will advise is you can also go online and research, or even take out cash and pay for content creation course so that you learn better. I usually advise business people, don't always outsource all of your content marketing to people. Learn about it, understand how it works. Sometimes these guys can be busy, sometimes they can be, for want of words, I don't know if crazy is a very bad word to say online, but you don't want to be dependent on people, and then they disappoint you, and then you just feel you fall flat. So you need to be able to have ideas of how these things work so that you can do. I do video editing myself. I do 3D animation myself. I do whiteboard animation myself. I know how to do all of that. Even when I say do it, and then they're saying no. And the reason is this: they can't tell your story the way you would tell it. So you need to understand how some of those things work so that you can produce content yourself. I don't know if that answered that question.
Yes, thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'll move to the next question. Joshua is asking, what's the best way to engage in healthy partnership with fellow designers without them seeing you as a competition?
Okay, so in terms of that's the challenge. I don't know if it's the other part of Africa, but I know some of the challenges in Nigeria with partnership is that people tend to want to compete rather than cooperate. You can partner with another designer. So say, for instance, if you find there's something called comparative advantage. In economics, it means what you have strength in and the other person doesn't have strength in it. So say, for instance, let's say China and America, China and the US, that no matter how conflicted their relationship is, no matter how many times they go on CNN or go on BBC and want to fight and shoot themselves, they always cooperate. Apple's biggest assembly line is in China, right? They are not saying because we don't like China, we don't like the US. They do business, they partner, all right? So Apple's biggest assembly line is in China. Why is that so? China has the manpower, which is also affordable. In the US, you can't use that kind of manpower without having litigation issues or legal issues. But in China, it's affordable. It's not that it's abused, it's affordable, it's readily available. So that partnership exists. So one of the ways to actually partner effectively or cooperate with somebody who is into the same line is to find areas where you define what your strengths are. Do a SWOT analysis if that's what works. Find what your strength is, find out what the other person, two of you can have the same strength. So if somebody's strength is in A, the other person's strength is in B, then you can then cross-breed ideas or cross-match efforts and see how two of you can collaborate without seemingly competing with each other. So say, for instance, somebody who is one of the partners or one of the people may have a factory and have a lot of machines, but may not be too good with designs or may not be too good with some other, and then you are good with design, so you can do the designs, collaborate with this person, they manufacture, and then you pay the money, and then it won't be an issue if it's done in an amicable way. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to take a question from someone on YouTube that has been posted in the chat box. Okay, so let me just look for it and read it out. Okay, so the person is saying, how can one craft a story out of seeing others do in another country, and they doing it in their country in line with eliminating the use of factory ink filled fabrics that destroy the environment? Okay, so I think that what this person is saying is that they want to eliminate, so they're into sustainability. So because they're saying that they're doing it in their country in line with eliminating the use of factory ink filled fabrics that destroy the environment. So they want to craft a story about a sustainable brand. So how do they do it? So if they want to, be able to say their own story about sustainability that they're practicing in their brand.
Okay. So yeah, I get the question, but it's that's your story. So the beauty is not someone else that can craft your story for you. You have to be able to craft your story. So why are you interested? So start off with why you are interested in that specific element of sustainability. Is it to make your own addition to saving the environment? Is it about you're interested in climate change, or you feel that there's something that you're going to be saving for the government, or saving for the economy, or saving for generations unborn? Or is there something that you suffered, someone around you suffered as a result of climate issues, climate change issues, and all of that? So you need to think clearly about why it is that you're interested in this, and then craft a story around it. So for instance, I could say that growing up in the village and then taking long walks to the stream, we used to have this very beautiful scenery, trees planted everywhere, the birds whistling, and we always enjoyed that journey from the house to the stream. But in a few years, we noticed that there was erosion, environmental degradation as a result of the operations of maybe manufacturing companies or oil companies, and that affected your childhood, that affected the environment, that people no longer are able to go to the stream. And you now notice that if you create fabrics or create products using the same method that degraded the environment, you will be contributing negatively. So you want to do something that contributes positively, and maybe in the future restore the environment back to what it was when you were a child. Simple as that. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's just move through the questions. Okay, so one Rapelana is asking, as a one-woman show, do you suggest I show my face more in content? So she's probably referring to social media and general content that she creates. So can she show her face more as the sole entrepreneur or a sole entrepreneur?
Okay, so again, all of those boils down to what sort of brand you're trying to create. There's nothing wrong with showing your face. Showing your face does not equate to people saying, you can, especially if you're, but with showing your face, you need to be sure that the video itself is high quality, all right? Something that shows in good light. If you produce a video with your face in a background that is not inspiring, the video quality is really poor, people will ascribe that to your business, that if your video is shady and careless and dirty, then your business will not be anything. Okay, so that's the danger in it. But if you're sure of the quality of your video, you've invested in cameras with a good phone, you know how to do all your aperture and light setting. For instance, the way I'm sitting, there's a light in front of me and all of that. If you know how to set up all of those things and you create quality video, there's nothing wrong with showing your face, because you're the face of you're the business, you're the face of the business. So you need to put a face to it, but make sure that the content is of high quality so that people don't ascribe poor quality to your business when the video quality is poor. I don't know if that answers the question. Well, yes, you can. But if you don't want, you don't always have to show your face. So you can create other content without showing your face. And that's why I always ascribe to whiteboard animations and all of those animations that can tell stories that should be in the video also, because you can't always be in the video. You're not always happy. You're not always sad. And you don't want to wait until you're happy to create videos and all that. So yes, you can, but you need to be careful about the consistency of always showing your face in the business, in the video. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we have an anonymous attendee asking this. Does customer acquisition strategies include advertising through advertisements, through magazines, newspapers, TV stations, and YouTube channels?
Oh, why not? Those were the old ways of customer acquisition. They still work for some businesses. So businesses like MTN, Globacom, all those big names would always fall back to those traditional media, like TV, radio, magazines, and all that. So yes, so anything that helps you get customers to your door and exchange money for your service is what you should be thinking. So yes, traditional media like TV, magazines, newspapers, radio are all still very valid means of customer acquisition. Very correct. But they can be more expensive than if you're doing it virtually or doing it online as well. Some of them can be really expensive to invest in. So some people, and again, you also need to understand who your customer is or where your customer base is. So if you're targeting people like my dad, you can't get them on social, even though they pretend to be on social media is not in them. That's the truth. So you can't be doing some funny skits and all that, expect someone like my dad at his age, at maybe 75, 76 to buy it. But if you go on the TV, evening news flashes, I say, this is for our beautiful grandparents and old parents, this is, and all of that, he would watch. Or a newspaper, old newspaper, he opens the back after looking at Messi and Ronaldo, he's reading about. So that can work for them. So always think about your target audience, who your customer is, where the base is. But if you're going to advertise to young teenagers, young youths at the universities, you can't go on TV and be doing it. It has to be social media sometimes or most times. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we have this very interesting question. So Nura is asking, please, we're making Fulani dresses. In which way can we improve? It sells, improve. Okay, so please, we are making Fulani dresses. In which way we can improve? It sells to foreign countries. So I think she wants to be able to improve her products so that she can sell to more people.
Okay. Again, so it's not just selling to foreign countries outside your own country. It's to ensure that your customer base are people who will appreciate what you're producing and they're in those countries, and then find out what is the best medium of communication in those countries. So look at the demography. Are you looking at young people? Are you looking at elderly people? Are you looking at women and what age of women? Are you looking at men, what age? Are you looking at youth, what age? Are you looking at students? So you need to understand the demographics of your demography of the clientele or the group of clients you're trying to target. And then you can then design a content strategy that reaches them or meets it. So say, for instance, if you're just selling randomly to people who are online or people who are young people who are maybe bankers in their early 20s, late 30s or mid 30s, then you can do social media. And you can sell on social media to anybody, anywhere in the world. You can, anywhere. That's what social media has done. It has shrunk that space or that distance between countries and people. So you can't do it online virtually. But if you're going to be selling to people who are not on social media, then it becomes problematic. How do you advertise? How do you sell to them? What do you do? You have to get them to buy. The other thing you can do is maybe these countries you're targeting, get some of the influencers who are maybe Fulanis or have Fulani affiliations, who can wear your products, and then people see them, they influence people around their circle to buy from you as well. So, but the important thing is understanding your target audience, their demography, and where they're located, and what medium would best reach them in terms of marketing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think we can take just one more question before we allow you leave and end the session. So someone is asking, this is Rose Valerie, and she asked in French. So I have interpreted it. And what she's asking is how to get the customer to purchase and the content represents. Should you speak? So she's asking, what can you say and tell him? So I think she's asking how you encourage people to buy your products through the content that you create and the story that you tell for your brand.
Oh, okay. Okay. So Now, with content marketing, you don't just in the first video or second video or the second content begin to ask people to buy. What you do with your content marketing strategy is that first of all, you're educating people. Yeah. So for instance, if you're selling, let's use the Fulani dress example. If you're selling Fulani dresses, you're not telling people buy our dresses. They are fantastic Fulani dresses. Everybody who wears them. No, no, no. You're going to be educated. Why is it important that I buy this? How does it add to my brand identity as a person? What story is it going to be helping me tell as a person when I buy it? Is it for a particular weather? Is it for a particular occasion? Is it about color? So your content is about educating your potential customers initially. So you're gradually educating them, opening up their minds, so that when you finally say this is the right product for the right weather and all that, they say, who else can we buy from if not you? Because they've been hearing you talk about it, they've watched you talk about it. It has become part of their subconscious. So they are unconsciously now saying, if anybody can give us the right material, the right dress, it has to be this company. You educate, you get their buying, they become a part of your tribe, and then you can then begin to project and sell to them. And then they'll easily buy. People don't trust you on your first content and buy from you. You're building trust as you educate. Even in the education sector, the training industry, you don't just sell a course, you educate people, sometimes offer free classes, sometimes offer free advice, and then before you know it, you're saying, so to get this particular course that touches on the advice we gave you before, it is now this, they will buy because you've educated them and they trust you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for this very enlightening session. So Ngozi is asking, can we have his full name and social media handles so we can follow him on socials? Yeah, so he's going to tell you.
It's just my name, Ifeanyi Enukora. Just my name on, as you see it, one word, small letters, all of the social media things, just Ifeanyi Enukora, yeah.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much, Ifeanyi. It's always interesting and exciting listening to you speak and answer questions.
Thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Okay, so you can stop sharing your slides. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to the session. We're going to be continuing. So I'm just going to share a couple of announcements. We're going to be continuing the workshop tomorrow at the same time. So please endeavor to join tomorrow's workshop. And then we have a couple of announcements for you. So just check the chat box. And I will check and I'll see if I can read out some of the announcements. Okay, so for some of the questions that we couldn't take in the first session, please ensure that you send if you feel like your questions weren't answered during the first session, please send the question to the Fashionomics Help Desk email. And yes, so Omalabake has mentioned it in the chat box. And so if you have questions that you want to ask, just send it to the Fashionomics Help Desk and we will get back to you. Deborah is asking, what is his full name? His full name is Ifeanyi Enukora. So I'm just going to write it in the chat box so you can find him. Okay, yeah. So, yes. So if you have any unanswered question, ensure that you send your questions to the Fashionomics Help Desk. Okay. And I think that's it. That's all. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for coming to this session. Thank you for waiting till the end, and thank you. So we'll be ending the session now. So if you have any question concerning the program, you can ask now. Yes, there is an event tomorrow. That's the workshop for the Accelerator. So please check your calendar and ensure that you come on time. Okay. So Akinomo is asking, is there any announcements? There's no announcement, just a reminder to attend the session tomorrow. Okay, and please ensure that your Zoom name matches your registered name. so that we can mark your attendance. Okay, so I can see a couple of you are asking questions. So tomorrow's session is based on your program type. So for your incubator, you have your time, check your calendar. For your accelerator, you have your time, check your calendar. And if you want to be able to go through this session, you know, we have a YouTube live session. So the link is in the chat box. Please find the link. The YouTube link would always be there. So you can have the replay and you can watch it. And then you would also the video would be uploaded on Moodle. So if you want to rewatch, please just go to Moodle. And then we also have the YouTube live session. Okay, so we'll come to the end of the session. Thank you so much for attending. We're super excited to have you, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.